8 socks hanging from the ceiling of a panjiha, a pair for each member of the Kim family, a slight dirty window looking up at a backstreet in Seoul, its denizens going about their daily lives. This is the very first shot of Bong Joon-ho's Parasite. And this is Open and Close, a series where I explore the opening and closing shots of a given film to study how the filmmakers bring us into the story and, ultimately, what they leave us with. While the beginning and ending are the focal points, everything is on the table. There will be spoilers, so please see Parasite for yourself before watching this video. And so it begins. The opening shot continues, moving down until it's eye level with our protagonist Ki-woo, played by Choi Woo-suk, the only begotten son of the Kims. We see he's trying to connect to Wi-Fi, something we can all relate to when we're out and about in our modern world, but Ki-woo is at home.
망했다 이거.
We're screwed. The first line of dialogue in the film. It speaks to the specific problem at hand, but as we soon learn, it speaks for the Kim family's current situation. The next line
공짜 와이파이 못 쓴다 이제.
informs us that Ki-woo and his family have been siphoning internet access off their neighbors. You know, kind of like a parasite? As Ki-woo tries to find a new Wi-Fi connection, he moves through their hovel, introducing us to both his family and their home. First, his sister Ki-jung, played by Park So-dam.
이래서 국까지 눌러봤어?
안 돼.
반대 순서로도 해봐.
안 된다니까.
Then his mother Chung-suk, played by Jang Hae-jin.
야, 김기태. 핸드폰도 다 끊기고 와이파이도 다 끊기고. 응?
And eventually the patriarch Kim Ki-tae, played by the great Song Kang-ho. The current predicament concerns the entire family. This interaction between the mother and father tells us plenty about their relationship. She wakes him with a swift kick to the rump, accuses him of pretending to be asleep when it looks like he was actually sleeping, and asks him,
씨발 계획이 뭐야?
She doesn't seem to think too highly of her husband. Perhaps there's no reason to. She's certainly keeping her hands and mouth busy while he's introduced as being somewhat lazy. Her delivery of
계획이 뭐야?
seems less an earnest inquiry about what to do and more like goading the would-be provider of the family. The very notion of having a plan is something that's very important to the father. Flash forward a bit to when Ki-woo has all but secured his job as an English tutor for the daughter of the wealthy Park family. An opportunity he is only able to secure with a forged document.
서울대학교 문서 위조학과 뭐 이런 거 없나?
저는 이게 위조나 범죄라고 생각하지 않아요. 저 내년에 이 대학 꼭 갈 거거든요.
너는 계획이 다 있구나.
It's through significant planning, or scheming rather, that all of the Kims are able to wheedle their way into the Park's life and home. We'll be returning to this concept of always having a plan when we examine the film's ending. As it turns out, Kim Ki-tae does have a solution for finding Wi-Fi.
그래야 돼 높게. 구석구석 사사시키듯이 해야 돼.
Which he imparts while having a meagerly prisoner's breakfast of bread and water. The flicking of the stink bug and newfound Wi-Fi connection pay off in the very next scene, with the first instance of the assiduous Kim family working together. I love openings that tell us everything we need to know about a character, and this is a perfect example. When a fumigator comes down their street,
요즘도 저런 걸 하네.
그러게요.
창문 닫아.
나도 봐. 공짜로 집안에 소독도 하고 곱등도 없애고.
as the rest of the Kims cough through the fumes, Kim Ki-tae perseveres in his pizza box folding, illuminating his diligence and his parsimony. This is a man with a plan. And while I'm setting up things to be discussed later, it's shortly after this that Ki-woo's friend gifts the Kim family with a scholar's rock, and the exchange pretty much speaks for itself.
근데 특히 이돌은 가정에 많은 재물운과 합격운을 몰고
민혁아.
다니면서
이야, 이거 진짜 상징적인 거네.
참으로 시의적절하다.
그죠?
그 할아버님께 꼭 감사의 말씀을 전해드리고.
뭐 먹고 사오지.
As much as we learn about the characters from these performances, we can also glean a great deal from their surroundings. The opening scene is entirely set within the cramped and cluttered confines of the family's Panjiha apartment, a Korean term that literally translates to semi-basement. For decades, Panjiha have been synonymous with the lowest income housing available in South Korea's capital city. While times are certainly changing and Panjiha are being done away with via reconstruction or significantly improved through renovation, it's clear that director Bong intended this to be an indication of the Kim family's status, the lowest rung on the social hierarchy and literally the lowest point of residence. For For the Kims, there's nowhere to go but up. Or is it just nowhere to go? This is the only set of wall decor that is lingered upon, showing a much younger Chung-suk competing in hammer throw. We can deduct that she was a former athlete, but not the very best, hence the silver medal, which she got back in 1992. The fact that this is featured prominently on the wall suggests the family may not have had many successes in the intervening years. Later in the film, after the Kims have essentially taken over the park's residence for a day, Chung-suk shows us that she's still got it. And it might explain a certain act of physical prowess that she demonstrates at a crucial moment in the film. The most iconic fixture of the Kim's home is their singular toilet, which is elevated on a platform in the bathroom. This is a unique feature of the Panjiha in order to prevent flooding. While this is practical in nature, placing the facilitator of human waste on a pedestal, even the highest point in the entire home, has a remarkably uncanny effect. The Kim's Panjiha, which we are essentially given a full tour of during this opening, sits in stark contrast to the Park family's luxurious residence. A sleek and spacious work of modern architecture with massive panes of glass spanning floor to ceiling, which would practically flaunt their wealth to the outside world if it weren't for their open yard and secured perimeter. Whereas the Kim's Panjiha can only let in so much sunlight, a significant drawback that leads to mold and a certain smell that becomes a crucial plot point in the film. Without starting in the Panjiha, Ki-woo's ascension into the park's residence simply wouldn't carry as much weight. This is a model to follow for filmmakers and storytellers alike. After all, Oz in all its Technicolor majesty wouldn't have been nearly as striking if the film didn't start in Kansas.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
The two homes are emblematic of the extreme wealth gap in South Korea, the disparity of which is brilliantly illustrated later in the film as Kim Ki-tae and his children sneak out of the park's residence to return home during a rainstorm. From up above to down below, only to find their Panjiha has been flooded. They take what little they can. Ki-woo secures the Scholar's Rock and depart their drowning den. The next shot recalls the opening, as the toes of their hanging socks dip into the water, as if to further humble an already humble beginning. And with this watery transition, we are forced to look down on what some would deem as the dregs of society. Parasite is a scathing indictment of economic inequality. Over the course of the film, the viewer is forced to wonder who the title actually refers to. At first, it's easy enough to assign the titular moniker to the Kims, especially as each of them secures a position feeding off of this wealthy family. But then you think about the Parks, who unknowingly hire an entire other family for their needs, one person per person. Who is leeching off of who in this scenario? And that's before the reveal of the man living in the basement, the husband of the housekeeper whom they so tactfully dispatched. He worships at the altar of Mr. Park and controls the staircase lights. This is not the first time director Bong has put a magnifying glass on social class in his films. In fact, it's a running thread throughout his filmography. But no outing was quite as pronounced as Snowpiercer. Set in a post-apocalyptic ice age where the remnants of humanity have climbed aboard the eponymous train, segregated between cars with the caboose encapsulating extreme poverty. An uprising, reliant upon forward momentum, sees the protagonists making their way toward the front of the train. Naturally, director Bong has referred to this as his hallway movie. I bring this up because during production, director Bong referred to Parasite as his staircase movie. Indeed, cinematic verticality is a tried and true depictor of the social ladder. From Akira Kurosawa's High and Low, to the levels of the Titanic, to the upstairs-downstairs dynamic of Gosford Park, to name a few. As such, staircases in Parasite come to represent economic disparity, the ascension and descension of which are often a precursor to the changes of fortune. The film doesn't have a closing scene so much as an outright epilogue, narrated via letters between father and son. Of course, this comes after the film's bloody climax, which sees Ki-woo bludgeoned by the late housekeeper's husband with no less a blunt object than the Scholar's Rock.
이야, 이거 진짜 상징적인 거네.
The enraged widower ascends to the surface to stab Ki-jung before being taken out by Chung-suk. It's then that the wealthy man's reaction to the poor man's smell, a humiliation long stuck in Kim Ki-tae's craw, finally causes him to snap. He takes the knife, kills Mr. Park, and flees the scene, ultimately hiding himself away in the basement. Ki-woo awakes from brain surgery to find his father on the lam and his sister in a jar. He and his mother are convicted of fraud and put on probation. After things have quieted down, he starts hiking up a mountain overlooking the park's former residence. He finds a new family has moved in, and one night, a message from his father detailing his escape and existence in the basement. The final minutes of Parasite sees Ki-woo writing a letter to his father. He opens with,
아버지, 저는 오늘 계획을 세웠습니다.
From the start, having a plan was something Kim Ki-tae could be counted on for, and it pleased him to see his son formulating one of his own.
너는 계획이 다 있구나.
And when things went south, Ki-tae stepped into his fatherly role.
아빠가 생각이 계획이 다 있으니까 니들은 그냥 잊어버리라고. 오케이?
But after their Panjiha was flooded, resulting in spending the night in a gymnasium with others displaced by the storm, the Kims seem to have hit rock bottom, and we finally see Kim Ki-tae drop his plans altogether, and it's absolutely devastating.
나 절대 실패하지 않는 계획이 만조라네. 무계획이야, 무계획. No plan. 왜냐? 계획을 하면 반드시 계획대로 안 되거든, 인생이.
I find this the most crucial scene of the entire film, wherein a father steps down and a son, clinging to hope, steps up.
제가 책임질게요.
뭔 소리야? 돌은 왜 그렇게 껴안고 있냐?
얘가 자꾸 나한테 달라붙는 거예요.
Even though we see where that gets him. It's this scene that speaks to the epilogue. Despite everything the family has lost, Ki-woo makes a plan. It shows him returning the rock to nature, perhaps because it didn't bring them any luck after all.
이야, 이거 진짜 상징적인 거네.
It shows Ki-woo, having made a lot of money, buying and moving into the mansion with his mother, as he tells his dad in the letter,
아버지는 그냥 계단만 올라오시면 됩니다.
But a world where someone can reach the top of the socioeconomic hill by merely ascending a staircase is fantasy, and the closing shot of the film, which mirrors the opening shot, reveals it as such. Ki-woo's letter states that he has a plan, but it is a childish dream to make a lot of money, completely devoid of detail. In reality, Ki-woo is alone with the letter. He breathes a heavy sigh and looks into the camera. By bringing our protagonist full circle to the very spot where the story began, Parasite shatters the dream of upward mobility. Where the film began on a bright summer morning with opportunities on the horizon, it ends on a cold winter night with no assurances in sight.
그날이 올 때까지 건강하세요. 그럼 이만.
And on that depressing note, I'll close the curtains on this first installment of Open and Close. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this new series and your interpretations of Parasite's opening and closing scenes and the themes it explores. Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you down there. If you like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Subscribe to Cineflect for more Open and Close, and click that bell next to the subscribe button if you'd like to be notified anytime I upload a new video. Until next time, watch something good.